Namaste. Jai Shivai. Such a beautiful morning here in Melbourne today. So I decided before the sun comes up, let me make a video for you guys for the questions. One of the questions that often comes up very frequently is, if I have one guru, then can I have another? Can I study with another guru? Or in other words, you are asking that, can I have more than one gurus, right? So one very important thing that you guys need to understand here is that this body is not guru. In the same way, whichever guru you have, okay, their body is not your guru. And Guru Tattva, or the element that Guru is, that is what is you are trying to invoke, right? A lot of time people on the name of looking for a guru are looking for a brother, or are looking for a sister, or are looking for an ideal lover, or are looking for a father figure or a mother figure. And that is what at times you are able to invoke from the body of the guru, and not able to invoke the element that guru is, the tattva that guru is, and not able to invoke that. And the reason for that is because you are still so much identified with your body. You are still so much identified with the identities that you have attached to your body. So, in other words, we can say you have raga with the body. And if you have raga with your own body, then definitely you are going to look at Guru's body, everybody's body, and then that differentiation you will see, that this guru is different than that guru, because you are looking at the body. There comes a time in a spiritual journey when entire cosmos has to become your guru. And if not, you are not reaching the ultimate samadhi that we call nirvikalpa samadhi. You are not reaching there until and unless you realize that entire Brahmanda, entire cosmos is your guru. Means, in other words, what we are trying to say here is that the Guru Tattva becomes so much alive in you, so much vibrant in you, that even a tree can teach you, rock can teach you, clouds can teach you, sky can teach you, air can teach you, whomsoever you meet can teach you, because you are in that burning mode of gathering the gyan, gathering the wisdom. Somebody said something in a book, you read a book and there was written somebody wrote something, and those lines, they just appear to be talking about you or talking for you. Then in that very moment, the writer of that book, whomsoever those lines are for, have been written by, that becomes your guru. He or she becomes your guru. So there can be million gurus. I wrote an article about how I had million gurus, and every guru is giving you this gyan or that gyan or some gyan that is going to take you towards moksha. Guru has to give you the gyan that you have to merge with Supreme Divine. You have to become one with Paramatma, not with the Guru. There is no such thing as becoming one with the Guru. Yes, it's like the Guru Tattva lives in you. The Guru Tattva, you have a Guru Chakra too. Everybody, every human being has a Guru Chakra, right? And I will provide the link to an article I wrote about Guru Chakra, how that functions and what happens with it. And once that comes alive in you, once that chakra is open in you, then entire cosmos is your guru. You wouldn't mind having a butterfly or a bird or a supreme, some celestial being teaching to you. In that very moment, from within your heart, you bow down to that guru. And no guru ever, no real guru ever has any concern with, oh, so you had that guru and you ran away from there, or that you stopped learning from there and now you are here with me. No, as a life in this cosmos, you are functioning, and so is Guru Tattva functioning within each and everything. Anything can teach you. And this journey, spiritual journey, is about Gyan, is about wisdom. Wisdom is the root of moksha, main cause of moksha, because agyan, avidya, or lack of wisdom is the root cause of bandhana, bondage. Okay? So if it is about gyan, if it is about your journey, if it is about your moksha, then it does not matter. It's never about the guru. Your journey is your journey, and you have to take as much help from as many gurus or the entire cosmos that is there. Never hesitate in that. The reason a lot of guru tells you, and even I tell people that, don't go on guru shopping. Whether I should study from this guru or that guru, or whether I should stick to this guru or that guru or not. The reason for that is only one. We all are trying to teach you Samarpan first. Surrender. Surrender not to the guru, not to guru's body, not to a particular ashram. Surrender is not for, somebody or something. No. Just Samarpan within. And that Samarpan is the Samarpan towards your own journey, towards your own pursuit of moksha. That Samarpan is towards that. And when that Samarpan happens, that you are so committed for your own journey, then where does this question comes from, how many gurus I can have? You will not ask this question. You will not have this question at all. Because it's about my moksha. Suppose you are doing a PhD in any subject. Okay? And at that time, your professor is your guide, right? You have a PhD guide given to you. But do you restrict yourself to just that guide? No. You study a lot. You read the books of so many other professors and writers. Okay? Even your guide may not have suggested you. Still you go on reading those books. You may go and talk to other students who are doing PhD, other PhD scholars, and you may get help from them. You may go to even other professors of the same subject to get help. And at that time, when all you want to do is just finish your PhD, right? That is all that matters. The end of your journey, your moksha, your end of your PhD, completion of your PhD is what matters. It does not matter how many gurus supported you, how many books supported you, in how many universities you studied, how many labs you have to go and experiment in. Does that matter? Nothing matters. So exactly in the same way, Guru is a medium. Guru is there to show you that you have to be one with Supreme Divine. You have to merge with Supreme Divine. And never forget that, till the time you are looking at Guru as his body or her body, that means you have lot of raga left with your own body. And if that is the case, yes, you can attain the deep states of dhyana, but the ultimate gyan that happens even through the lower levels of samadhi, that gyan is not going to happen to you. And until that gyan happens, those samadhis will not happen. And you will not find it easy, or a door, you will not find the door to jump into that unknown, to jump into the nirvikalpa samadhi. You will not find that. Raga with the body has to go away. Raga with the attachment, raga means attachment. So attachment with the shape and form, nama and rupa, has to go away. Only then you will find the door to nirvikalpa samadhi, ultimate samadhi. So don't look at gurus as body, physical body. Don't look at the physical body of the guru. Guru goes on teaching this through this entire cosmos, and that is when powerful samadhis happen to you. A lot of gyan through those samadhis happen to you. Gyan of moksha is not something that happens in one shot, that you went into, nirvikalpa samadhi and only then the gyan of moksha happens to you. No. Deeper states of dhyan gives you gyan about your own journey. It breaks the bond of raga within you. It breaks the identities within you. Deeper states of lower level samadhis like savichara samadhi, savikalpa samadhi, samij samadhi, all these samadhis go on giving you gyan at different levels. And they also break the sanskaras or chit in your chitta. The chitta vrittis die as a result, subside as a result in you. So raga, dvesha, abhinivesha, all the agyan that you have within starts leaving you in bits and pieces. So all the gyan happens in bits and pieces, here and there, through different states of samadhis, through different levels of samadhis. It's not something that happens in one shot. And that is why it's a journey of lifetime. Even in lower level samadhis, people can spend lifetimes. And we as Guru do encourage people to finish their journey in this lifetime itself, right? So that you do not make more karma and you get into another lifetime, repeat the same story and then pursue your journey. But it is really up to you. You want to finish in this lifetime or not. There is no guru can ever say that, no guru can ever mean it that way, that if they say when your journey will be over in this lifetime, it is truly going to be over in this lifetime. No, there's no such thing as, written in sand or written in stone somewhere. No, you have all the reasons to go on playing. You have all the ample time. This is not like, oh, third grade is, we have final exams of third grade. Third grade is about to be over, so I must pass it. No, there's no such thing. You have a lot of time. You can play for as many lifetimes as you want to. So you can stop yourself in your journey. You can take help from as many gurus and books and scriptures and everything that is possible. Very most important thing is understanding that it's the Guru Tattva in you. And through that Guru Tattva, anything and everything becomes your Guru. At any stage of life, different gurus appear. This Guru Tattva shows up in so many different people. Your parents were your first guru. My parents were my first guru. Right? They taught me a lot of things. And then a lot of good teachers I had throughout my elementary school, primary school, and my high school. And then during my college time, I had so many awesome, really wonderful teachers who not only taught me the subject, instead gave me something more than that. And in that very moment, I bow down to them as my guru. Yes, I had one guru who initiated me into Kriya Yoga in my past life, but that does not mean in this life nobody gave me any wisdom. No, a lot of people gave me a lot of gyan. There came a time when entire cosmos started functioning as my guru. Anything and everything, so many celestial beings appeared to give me gyan, to give me wisdom. Wisdom about life, wisdom about cosmos, wisdom about my own journey, my own moksha, wisdom about my own transformation was given to me by the celestial beings. I did not turn my face away. I did not ever turn any Guru Tattva away from me in any and every moment. And I did not care if those celestial beings looked little bit ferocious or if that celestial being looked not so human, right? It did not bother me because I had no attachment to body, no raga with my own body, hence no raga with nama and rupa, shape and form, no raga with that. I realized Gyan and Guru can appear even in a rock. And yes, it is true, so many mountains have taught me a lot. Since childhood, I have been a mountaineer, you can say. A person who is always running towards mountains. And a lot of mountains, so many people have walked those mountains. Right? Those mountains have seen thousands of years on this planet. And there is a lot of gyan in them. They have a spirit of their own. So I would just go there and by heart I would just accept that spirit that can give me any gyan whatsoever, any wisdom whatsoever. And each and every small piece of that wisdom is going to help you transform with speed. I really wanted to finish my journey in next 5 years, in next few years. I really wanted to do that. So I was hell-bent upon, okay, I just bowed down in front of the sky looking up like that and I said, just teach me, I am ready. Just show me. Show me through anything and everything and I will go on learning, I'll make sure of that. So till the time you are seeing gurus as body, physical body, you are making a mistake. Okay? A book written by any guru or any writer is your guru in a moment. Okay? And on the name of guru, if you are looking for a brother or a sister or a father figure or a mother figure or, some spiritually wise friend, sorry. You will miss the point. You'll miss the whole point. So I hope this helps you understand how you look at Guru Tattva. And this is one very important thing because either this alone, just this fact alone, that how you see the Guru Tattva and how powerfully you are, how successfully you are able to invoke the Guru Tattva from any physical body of a human being or a celestial body or anything in this entire cosmos. How successfully you are able to invoke that is going to decide whether you will attain moksha or not. It is that simple. It is that basic. If Guru Tattva has come alive in you, you will be able to successfully invoke it from anything and everything. Never ever there will be an iota of agyan. There will be, never ever there will be a lack of wisdom in your journey. That wisdom will keep on appearing from within all the time, and you will walk your journey successfully without falling into a lot of pitfalls and without wasting your own life and time and your energy. So this is very much of a deciding factor. How well do you understand the Guru Tattva? Guru Tattva is that light or lamp in that unknown forest, deep, dark, unknown forest of your spiritual journey, your own karmas, your own sanskaras that you have created. It's that one light, it's that one lamp. And if you do not know how to operate that lamp, you are doomed. Right? The first thing you need is to be able to see in the deep, dark, dense forest of your own karma, of your own chittavrittis, of your own sanskaras, of your own vasanas, of your own mental, emotional, behavioral patterns. So you really need to know how that lamp works. You really need to know how to turn on that lamp. And if you are not able to turn that on, then you will go on looking for a friend, a spiritual friend, somebody to talk to, or you will go on looking for lover, an ideal lover on the name of Guru, or you will go on looking for a sister or a brother or mother or father or somebody other than Guru. Right? So you really need to know how to turn that lamp on. I hope this helps and you understand this one thing. Namaste. Jai Shivaya.